the one, the only, the classic Halloween.
Halloween night. A small American town. 15 years ago.
Michael?
Halloween.
I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. I think he'll come back.
Exploring uncharted territory.
Totally charted.
Just talk.
Sure.
Sure.
The only reason she babysits is to have
Halloween.
Okay,
Come on out.
Halloween. The night he came home.
Welcome in, everybody, to That Movie Show.
Yeah, I let you do the intro this time.
Appreciate it. Waiting for the cue.
I waited for the cue.
Next time, we won't even sell that we're waiting for cues. We'll just do it.
We'll just do it. Hey, baby steps, okay?
Baby steps. We nailed it this time. Welcome into That Movie Show. It is Mike Wendt, Liam Stryker, Bill Neville, queuing us behind the board. And tonight, we are covering the immortal classic, Halloween.
Halloween.
Yes, the second of 4 in our October series here of classic horror movies. And this is definitely right up there. If not, most people's probably number 1 classic.
Yeah. It's not my number 1 classic, but it's definitely in the top 5.
It is actually mine. Michael Myers is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that I found Jason first. Jason is my favorite of the...
But now after last week, when you realize that Jason is literally just a ripoff, actually the director said, let's rip off Halloween.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
See, I think that you look at some of those type of things that where they start as ripoffs, but then kind of find their own voice. And the Jason we end up finding that's the juggernaut zombie hockey mask killer.
So you enjoy Jason current day as opposed to the guy in the bottom of the lake.
Yeah, as opposed to the boy. The boy in the bottom of the lake.
The child at the bottom of the lake.
Yeah, that Jason, no thank you. Sack wearing Jason, no thank you. But 3 on, I'm in.
3D Jason,
I'm
all
in.
good.
I'm in. From 3 on. Jason X, I'm double in.
There you go.
I'm double in. That guy's...
The Uber Jason, which is actually what he's credited as.
Uber Jason?
If you look on the IMDb, it says Kane Hodder as Jason Voorhees / Uber Jason.
Yeah, okay.
I love it. But tonight we are covering Halloween. It was released October 25th, 1978. It is directed by John Carpenter, written by John Carpenter and Debra Hill, stars Donald Pleasence, Jamie Lee Curtis, PJ Soles, Nancy Loomis. It came in a budget of $325,000, made back $70 million.
Wow.
First run at the box office. It was historically, I don't have the exact quote, but it was historically one of the longest running independent films, most successful independent film for
Right.
it was at least 10 years.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know what knocked it off, but But yeah, it was the most successful independent film and basically spawned the slasher genre that we know
Right.
today. Like I said, it created Jason Voorhees.
It did.
Sean
It
S.
did.
Cunningham went to his writer, Victor Miller, and said, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So let's figure out how to do that.
Well, this movie is so good. It is so good. And because the pacing is so good, right? It's methodical, it's slow, and the sound design and score.
Yeah, I mean, John Carpenter's score, we talked a little bit about the Friday the 13th, but this is like, when you talk about iconic horror movie scores, this is actually, because he was a musician, he was in a band, and he does the music for this, and this has become the iconic, when you think horror movie scores, that the synthesizer type thing, which now kids, I mean, Google what a synthesizer is. Go ahead, I'll wait.
It's what they make the EDM music song.
Sure, that's an iMac.
Yeah, yeah, it's a 2018 synthesizer.
But it's lovely. So much so that just this past week I watched it. I went to the theater and saw it.
Yeah.
Showcase brought it back. I was at the Showcase in Revere.
I feel like every Halloween I end up watching Halloween in a movie theater.
Yeah.
You know, because like I said, I do enjoy the Friday the 13th more. But I always end up going to see this because this is probably the best film.
Yes.
This is the best film out of all of them.
Right.
Where it's like, wow, this is great.
Right.
Like I said, the pacing, the acting. You know, you look at the Scream Queen herself.
Yeah.
You know, this is where she takes the title.
Which is funny because, I mean, earlier in her career, right after the sequel,
right?
I mean, she pretty much publicly signed off. She's like, yeah, I'm done. No more horror movies. I don't want to talk about horror movies. I don't want to talk about, it was almost like for a while what people knew Carrie Fisher felt about Leia.
Right.
Like even there was always the story Kevin Smith told about when he worked on Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back with her, and nobody was allowed to make Leia jokes.
Right.
Nobody was allowed to talk. Like that's why she was the nun in the car, as opposed to a Star Wars character like Mark Hamill shows up later in the movie.
Yeah,
because she was so against it.
Right.
Which obviously, everybody changed their tune. Carrie Fisher came back as Leia, and coming up this Friday, October 19th, Jamie Lee Curtis returns as Laurie Strode 40 years later.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, that's also this is her like third return. Wasn't she? She was in H2O.
She came back for the sequel in 1981, which was Halloween 2.
Right.
Basically because, and she said in interviews, she felt she owed it to John Carpenter and the character because they were going to recast her if she didn't come back.
Right.
So it would have just been Laurie Strode as someone else. But she's like, I felt I owed it to them.
It would have been Meryl Streep, and it would have been weird.
It would have been very Oscar worthy.
It would have been very Oscar worthy. It was very weird.
But yeah, and then she came back in Halloween H2O because. And she's talked. Kevin Williamson, who was the creator of Scream, was very influential in H2O, and she really liked his pitch and felt there was a story to be told there.
Right.
And also, it would add that little bit of closure because she wasn't happy because she wouldn't come back for the sequel, number 4.
Right.
And was really not happy when they just off-screen killed her off in a car accident.
Right.
And then made the focus about her kid. And she's like, well, let's tell this other story. And there was substance. And I watched H2O again last night or the night before, and there is substance to it. It gets lost because it's in that later Miramax years Halloween's.
Resurrection.
Resurrection was just awful.
Yeah.
I mean, Resurrection was Halloween Big Brother.
It was.
With Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks.
I know, it was weird.
When you look at a movie and you see top billing Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you at all.
And again, just, killed Laurie Strode off again right in the opening scene of that one. But it's like... So I guess the question for Halloween is, who's more immortal?
Yeah.
Michael Myers or Laurie Strode? Because they both have been killed off almost the same amount of times.
Right. The thing that I don't like about this new movie that's coming out is that, look, here's the thing. I don't need 4. We obviously don't talk about 3 because it's not connected at all.
It's not, but I did go back and rewatch it. I rewatched all the movies in order. Here's what I feel about 3 before we get on. If they had, because I understand where they were going. John Carpenter wanted to put Michael to bed at the end of 2 and move on in an anthology type series.
Right.
Almost what American Horror Story is now for television.
Correct.
And that was his thought. The problem is the fan base just wanted more Michael Myers.
Yeah.
They had already fell in love with this character. That's what Halloween was to them. So when Season of the Witch came out, they were just, nope. I'm good. And I think also there was part of it that it was Halloween 3 came out in 82.
Yeah.
Okay, so my brother was just being born. I was 3 years old. So I don't remember the marketing.
Yeah, right.
But I'm guessing the marketing, because they wanted to get people in, and it was Halloween 3.
Right.
If they, nowadays they would have just called it Halloween Season of the Witch.
Right,
But calling
exactly.
it 3 makes it sound like a continuation.
Right. Well, it feels like you're gonna get Michael Myers,
Right.
even if there is a witch involved.
It's a sequel to Halloween.
Right.
Because of that 3. And I can only imagine, because there was no social media, there was no internet,
Right.
there was no way to find out what it's like, that there was probably a lot of pissed off people who went to the theater, paid money, and didn't see Michael Myers.
Right.
But the movie itself, watching it back, as part of the Halloween series, I don't like it because it's a weird pause in the action.
Right. It's so different from the Michael Myers story that it's really weird. But
As a standalone movie,
it's not bad.
it's not a bad 80s horror sci-fi type of movie.
Right.
And you will never get that Halloween jingle that the commercial was running for Silver Shamrock. 6 more days to Halloween, Halloween. I'm still, like I said, I'm still humming that shit
Oh, man.
in my head. But yeah, it wasn't terrible. But I feel that because they went right back into, and 4 is called The Return of Michael Myers, they were not being subtle. His big ass face is on the fucking poster.
Yeah.
The title literally is, yes, he's back.
Yeah, he's
You
back.
know?
Come watch it, please.
But I honestly, I like 4 and 5 as a double feature because it tells the Jamie story, played by Danielle Harris, who was Laurie Strode's daughter.
Right.
And while yes, it was kind of shitty how they just threw away Laurie Strode in an off-camera car accident, as these 2 movies, I like them. And maybe it's just because these are the 2 I've probably seen the most, because these 2 have been always run on TV back to back every October. Whenever AMC does their Fear Fest,
Right.
you're going to get many nights where these 2 are just shown back to back.
Right.
So maybe that's why I have that affection for them. The series is still, it has ups and downs, but it holds on. The Paul Rudd one was 6. That was the first Miramax one.
Which one's 6?
Curse of Michael Myers.
Okay.
It was Paul Rudd's first movie,
Oh, wow.
and
That's one of those things that you don't remember Kevin Bacon in Friday the 13th.
yeah,
You don't remember Paul Rudd in this.
exactly. And that was a little bit off the rails. That went deep into the Sam Hang legacy and the Irish demon or possession or
Oh, right.
it was, and a lot of it because of the transferring tattoos from people to people thing. It felt very Tales from the Crypt Demon Night.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. So my head was in that direction. Also, this was the one that famously went through production hell, and now there's 2 official releases. There's a theatrical and what most people, and myself included, would consider the better producer's cut of the movie.
Okay.
Which kind of, it doesn't fix the movie. It's still on the lower end if you're ranking the movies.
Right.
But the different ending kind of fixes some of it.
Okay.
Some of it. And then, yeah, in 1998, we came back with Halloween H2O, 2002, Resurrection. This series definitely takes the most gaps,
Right.
and I feel it's because so many people have had their toe in it. John Carpenter's just kind of, he stepped back. He's like, yeah, do your thing, whatever. I'll take my created by check and
right.
move on with it.
Right.
So there has been a lot of different stories. And now apparently he was actively involved with this new one coming out, which still I find it hilarious. Kenny Powers wrote it.
Yeah.
Danny McBride was one of the writers, and
Well,
I'm not taking anything away from him, but he's always Kenny Powers to me.
That's the early buzz of this, that it's surprisingly funny but very good. That's what I keep hearing, because obviously I haven't seen it yet.
Sure.
But all of the early buzz is that it's surprisingly humorful in some moments.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away from the story. But it's also a really good Halloween movie.
Right.
So I think it's kind of in that same way that like a lot of the Marvel movies, they're great action movies, but they got humor in them.
Right.
And so I'm excited to see it. The only thing I'm not super stoked about is 1 and 2 are so tightly wound that it's weird that we're not starting after 2.
Well, it is 40 years later. 78 to 81. You can jam those together as one night, but
Right. Well, they say that the 2 never happened.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying like, this is the next day.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Okay,
It's-
now I understand. what you're saying.
Chronologically, yes, 40 years have passed.
Well, again, now you're cleaning up because 2 was. I mean, the end of 2 was Dr. Loomis blew up a hospital with Michael Myers in it.
Yeah.
Neither one of them came out of that at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, but both of them ended up in 4.
Right.
Loomis had a couple of scars, but it's like no, he blew the fuck up.
Yeah.
But all right. So everybody's immortal in the Halloween world.
Yeah, it's Highlander, and they're all just trying to kill each other.
They're all Highlanders fighting for there can be only one.
Yeah. But they're not decapitating each other, so that's why it's not working.
But I also, it probably, and without any knowledge of why they decided to just go back to the original, it probably is just simplifying it. It's almost like the end credit scene of Deadpool 2. We're just cleaning up the timeline a little bit.
Yeah, right.
We're fixing a few things, and honestly, I'm not a giant fan of 2, Halloween 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I feel it was almost too. It felt like an easy cash grab to me, and what I mean by that is because the whole thing is basically, it's kind of like the Reservoir Dogs of horror movies, where it's like all pretty much in one room. It's a hospital, so there's multiple rooms, but it's all one location.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they really weren't exploring much here.
No.
And it was very much just, all right, we got this one thing, we're just going to shoot this, and he's going to, okay, we'll wrap it up. We people wanted him to come back. Okay, fine. We left it open-ended at the end of 1. Let's just wrap it up here.
Yeah. Well, it also makes sense if that's how we get like to the anthology end of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that makes sense. We blew up a hospital. Of course, that guy's dead.
Right, and I'm guessing that's probably where their direction was headed because them wanting to go in the direction of the anthology series. I mean, yeah, he was dead to them.
Yeah.
That story's over.
Yeah, the story's over. They blew up a hospital and everybody died.
But backlash being what it being, well, if people want to spend money on Michael Myers, let's bring his ass back.
Right.
And at that point, we had Jason, we had Freddy, by the time 4 came around in 88, because even that though,
right.
That's even a gap.
Yeah.
Because, they did, so the original was 78, the sequel was 81. Next year they did 3. So they were planning this clearly.
Right.
Because they jumped right into the 3 the next year. But then they took a break till 88.
Oh, weird.
Till they did 4.
Yeah.
And then 4 and 5 were 88, 89. Another break, 95. Another short break, 98. Another short break, 2002. It's almost like, we got to revive this somehow, and they just never were able to hold on to
the magic of the first
like
one.
Friday the 13th was pumping them out every single year.
Right.
And as we talked last week, those made money.
Yeah.
But it's like even if the budget grew a little bit, you knew you were going to get the return back on it.
Oh, of course.
Because it wasn't astronomically large budgeted.
No.
So let's jump right into the movie as you do.
Right. Probably the best twist. This is one of those twists that have been ruined. And it's been done to death in so many other films and parodies and all sorts of other things that I don't think it has the power that it originally had, where you're watching this killer vision, right, of this person stalking this woman.
First-person shooter.
It's a first-person
For
shooter.
you gamers out there.
Yeah, the original first-person shooter, bro. Stalking this couple, then going in there and then killing both of them, and then coming out and revealing that it was a child.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, it's a crazy concept. And you hear, because you can hear, because he's stalking through the window.
Right.
And you can hear them kind of talking about, this Michael, boy who's there clearly babysitting and watching.
Right.
And all that stuff. And then all of a sudden when he comes through and you see a little boy's hand picking up the knife and going up. And she even says, Michael.
Yeah, right.
Because when they get to the bedroom and she's sitting there. By the way, quickest sex ever.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was up the stairs and down the stairs, and she's fully naked.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what happened there?
Did we even start? Did you were like, hold on, let me make a sandwich. I'll be right back.
I mean, I'd love to have a stopwatch on that.
We're going for a record.
Yeah, two pumps and I'm out. And he already has clothes on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was ready to go.
Like from the time they went up the stairs to the time he's running down the stairs, I don't know if I could get my shoes off in that amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm also out of shape.
Yeah, well, yeah. Alas, we are no longer spry teenagers.
So yeah, it's 1963, and he stabs his sister Judith to death.
Yeah, to death.
And she all naked.
And then, the coincidence, she all naked. The coincidence of the entire thing, because his parents show up right away.
A lot of timing.
A lot of timing in
Really
this.
good timing.
So, it's very interesting to see how that all goes down, because he comes walk outside and they're like, oh, what's going on, Michael?
Yep,
And
they
then
meet him at the curb. It's like, Michael, what's happening? Pull the mask off, and he's standing there with a bloody knife.
Right. I also do think it's very funny that you look at it and it's like, okay, so the murdering of those two people is what sets this child to prison for forever. Mm-hmm. It's like, that feels weird.
Well, he was a 6-year-old that did a pretty horrific murder.
Right.
And it wasn't even prison. I mean, it was psychiatric. And they sent him to a mental hospital.
Yeah, they sent him, yeah.
And from, you heard in the trailer what Loomis says about how I spent 8 years trying to reach him and he just wasn't there. And I spent the next 7 trying to just keep him locked up.
Right.
By the way, Dr. Loomis, we'll get into his medical practices. I don't think he's a great doctor.
Oh, no, he's a terrible doctor.
And also not a great human being.
No, he's awful.
He's a terrible man.
Yeah,
and a really, not even kind of, really an asshole.
Oh, he's a huge asshole. He doesn't help this at all.
No.
The funniest part of this movie is he's searching for Michael the entire time, and then as soon as all the shit goes down, he's like, oh, fuck, it's at the end of the street.
Yeah. Oh, my God. When he's hiding in the bush all night long and literally just kind of, after what I can only amount to comes to hours.
Yes. Oh.
Chalks his head to the left and is like, oh, there's the car.
Yeah. Yeah, what?
The fucking thing's been there all night.
Yeah.
He's been posted up in the house killing babysitters all goddamn night.
Yeah.
And you didn't even look to your left?
Yeah, you never looked left?
Pulled a gun on a bunch of trick-or-treaters, asshole.
Yeah, you're an idiot. Why are you hiding in a bush?
What? Creep?
Yeah, what are you doing? Like, your heart's in the right place, but you are doing this real wrong.
Ish.
Yeah. Also,
he would never get anywhere because he just barks at people.
Right.
It's just like, all right, because imagine someone comes to your fucking office and just starts yelling at you to do stuff. Yeah. No, you have to do it. And by the way, I love Donald Pleasence's voice.
Oh, yeah.
There's 2 things he says that when I'm watching it back, I always yell back at the TV. First is, Michael!
Yeah.
And Haddonfield!
Yes, that's true.
Every time I mimic it right back. And I'm just like, I'm just yelling at a TV now.
Yeah. The funniest part about the whole thing is like, you're hiding in this bush, you're hiding in this bush waiting for Michael Myers to show up.
The show Bush?
Yeah.
You king of forest?
Yeah.
Fucking tree hugger?
Yeah, but he's hiding in this bush the entire night waiting for Michael Myers to show up when he could have, just hung out and just...
He could have gone into the house.
He could have gone in the house. 2...
It was the Myers house. It was abandoned.
He could have talked to the police because...
Well, he was doing that because the cop kept showing up.
Okay, that's right.
At that point, the cops were well in the know. The cop was kind of doing his patrols, and he was coming back, I think, every hour to check in on Loomis, which why it's like, that's a long night.
That is a long
night. In
a
bush.
Yeah.
Instead of just, hey, let's go in.
Yeah, let's go in.
Because, they did at one point.
Yeah,
Okay, now it's coming back to me. So they did, as soon as they got to the Myers house, they went in and we realized he's eating a dog.
Right.
Because he looks down, there's a carcass of a dead dog, and he's like, oh, he got hungry.
Yeah.
Which is weird. One of only 2 real instances. The other was Halloween Resurrection, where we realized Michael eats stray animals. Because there's dead rats when they find his little lair in Resurrection. So that's odd.
Well, it's also because, at least in this movie, they're still trying to maintain that he's a person.
Right.
And so, in theory, he's going to
be hungry.
Person traits.
Right.
Just like normal human being things.
So, okay.
So that makes sense.
So he eats a dog.
Yeah.
So Loomis is hanging out in the bush waiting for him to come home.
Yes.
Which is the equivalent of saying, well, I know he's here.
Yeah.
And I know he's here to murder people.
Right.
I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
Instead of actively trying to
maybe
go look for him and not have him murder people, he's just waiting for him to wrap up his night of killing and come the fuck home.
Yeah, right. Those people be damned.
Minimum effort Loomis.
Yeah, minimal effort. Minimal effort.
He is not a maximum effort type of guy.
No, he is not. He is not at all. And for some odd reason,
Yeah.
which we don't find out until 4,
Okay.
right, is that Laurie, he just decides that he's going to pick on Laurie Strode.
Yeah, the connection, like I said, I don't know if in 2 it's alluded to that there's the relationship there.
Yeah.
I think maybe there is.
Right. It's definitely not in this movie.
No, it's definitely not in this.
Yeah.
And again, because these weren't originally meant to be series,
Right.
John Carpenter, to his credit, wanted to make Westerns.
Yeah.
He didn't want to make horror movies. He didn't want to make cult movies.
Yeah, he's just really good at this.
But back in the day, in the Grindhouse era and the exploitation film era, you needed what was called a B movie to run a double feature.
Right.
This was a B movie.
Yes.
He was contracted. Okay, I'll make this simple little horror movie called Babysitter Murders,
Yep.
which was the most basic of concepts.
Yep.
Do it well. I'll put it out, and then I'll go make my Westerns.
Right.
Obviously, that didn't happen. And we know what course he took.
Yeah. I'll take your money for this to make my art.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's basically what it is.
Which is also why you see a lot of a lot of them not come back for sequels. The directors, that is,
right.
because they didn't want to really do it in the first. They're doing it to pay the bills. Like
Right.
Sean Cunningham didn't set out to make Friday the 13th the series, the $1 billion franchise.
Right.
He was copying Halloween because he saw that make a shitload of money.
Yeah, I want to make a ton of money.
I want to get out of porn. I want to go make this.
Yeah.
you
Right.
know? So, but he wanted to make Westerns. He didn't, but it becomes successful. So now all of a sudden you need all the backstory. I heard an interview with John Carpenter when he was asked about, as so famously quoted in Scream, the rules of a horror movie. You can't do drugs or drink.
Yep.
You can't have sex because
Yep.
only the virgin lasts to the end. And of course, the I'll be back thing. Don't say that.
Yeah.
When John Carpenter was asked, he's like, "Yeah, it wasn't that deep, man.
Yeah, right, of course.
We weren't thinking. We were just trying to make these girls like real high school girls. It's like there's the cheerleader, there's the fun smart ass, and then there's the virginal 17-year-old. It's the bookworm one. We weren't thinking about Laurie. There was no.
She's
basically
pure.
We the fans created the lineage that is the virgin lives in the end. It was
Right.
done. It wasn't thought of. It wasn't
Oh,
like
of course.
It wasn't an active thing. It was just like, Laurie Strode is our hero.
Right.
But it wasn't like she's our hero because she's a virgin, or she's a virgin because it was just like that's just the character we're writing.
Right.
She was written as, and it was something Jamie Lee Curtis said. She was written, and the word he kept using was vulnerable,
Right.
which she needed a lot of explaining because she's like, doesn't that mean weak? And he's like, no, it's different than weak. It's not weak. It's just impressionable. It's vulnerable. Everybody knows what the word vulnerable means,
Right.
But it was taken out of context that way.
Right. Vulnerable is much like obscenity. I can't define obscenity, but if I look at it, I can tell you that that's obscene.
Exactly. Exactly. So there wasn't that thought process.
Yeah.
We created the thought process.
Right,
'Cause
well,
we dove
that's-
deep into these movies.
Well, and that's fan bases in general. They're
Right.
looking at everything to mean something. I've never really subscribed to that in depth that any writer or any filmmaker that tells you that everything in their movie means something,
Right.
you're an asshole. The curtains are blue. What do you think that means? Oh, it's the inner turmoil of the main character. It's like,
No, it's just the house you rented.
no, it's just I needed to have. I'm describing the room. There are curtains on the window,
Right.
and I have to tell you what color the curtains are in order for you to get a picture of what this room looks like.
Yeah.
So they're blue.
And even that, I mean, they're even more broad than that. I mean, there wasn't okay, you can look at the only one that really comes to mind who was trying to make an actual statement through horror was George Romero.
Yeah.
He was making social statements
Yeah.
with Night of the Living Dead. He was making cultural classism through Dawn of the Dead and the Mall
Right,
and all that
yeah.
stuff. And then the government in obviously Day of the Dead.
Right.
And then back to, hierarchy of status in Land of the Dead. I mean, he was
Yeah.
very much into making a statement through these zombie movies. Halloween wasn't about that. Halloween was
No.
about a dude stalking babysitters.
Yeah. Right.
Plain and simple.
Right. And the doctor trying to catch him.
And the doctor trying to catch him. Exactly. He's a crazy dude who killed his sister, and now we're off.
yeah.
But now all of a sudden you start dipping into, it's an ancient Irish demon who has a tattoo, and this. It's like what?
What?
I did like in 6 how the dude who's leading that cult is actually the head of the hospital in this movie, who no one pays attention to.
That's so
You
funny.
almost probably forget he was even in the movie.
That's really funny. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. So there's that theory where he let Michael out on purpose.
Oh, yeah, because...
So that now even they're trying to backtrack and add substance that wasn't there in the original.
Yeah, right.
He just escaped.
Yeah, right. Well, the bus crashed or something. Like,
not even in this.
Oh, no.
Loomis and the nurse were pulling up to transfer Michael because he had another evaluation hearing type of thing.
Right.
And in the car, they're sitting there and they're talking about, you gotta basically give him a double dose of Thorazine and blah blah blah. And the nurse is like, he won't even be able to stand. He's like, that's the idea.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
again, Loomis's theories, were questionable at best, even in the 70s.
I mean, and it's also the 70s. Lobotomize his ass.
Oh, absolutely. You could have gotten away with that, but that would have ended the movie.
Yeah, I know.
So they pull up to the hospital, and a bunch of inmates in hospital gowns are just kind of
wandering,
milling about.
Yeah.
And she even says, is it normal to let them just walk around like this? And he gets out of the car. Michael jumps on the hood, smashes the window.
Well, the weird part about that, too, is because this is the most athletic you see Michael Myers.
There's that one. Also, this is a kid who's been institutionalized since he was 6 years old. And they kind of say it in the movie, but how the fuck did he learn how to drive?
Yeah, right. That dude just shows up.
That actual line is in the, like, somebody says he can't drive. He's like, well, he was doing pretty good the other night. And again, Loomis just yelling at people.
Yeah, because he's an asshole.
Because he's an asshole.
He's an
It's
asshole.
like, bro, I'm an adult. You can't yell at me like that. We're gonna have to fight.
Yeah,
You know?
man. Yeah, no, you can go fuck yourself, bro.
Fine.
Here's the thing.
This shit's on you.
Yeah, here's the thing. You're in charge of that big asshole. You're in charge.
Big asshole.
Yeah, you're in charge of that big asshole. So you're not doing your job. Don't yell at me.
Right. So he steals the car and
He just takes off.
bails out
And parks it next to Loomis.
Yeah.
He just parks it next to him.
Yeah, we have little things where he pulled off the side of the road, killed the trucker, took his work uniform, which Loomis finds because he decided to stop at the most random of payphones. Apparently, back in the day, payphones were just on the side of the highway all the time, unless that's just a movie thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, I see this one and like the payphone in True Romance when they're just on the side of an abandoned highway having sex in a payphone. I'm like, where is this payphone? There's nothing around here. There's not even a fucking gas station attached to the phone.
Why is there a phone here?
Why is there a phone? Who has to just stop and make a call randomly on the highway? Apparently doctors. Apparently doctors do.
Oh, Michael Myers is out.
Right. Just had to give you a heads up there, Sheriff. He's coming to your town. And he gets there, and then he just starts basically, as the original title would say, stalking the babysitters.
Right.
And we meet Lori and her friends, played by PJ Souls plays Linda, and Annie. Who played Annie? Annie was Nancy Loomis.
Yes.
And so
not related to Dr. Loomis.
No. And we also, they're all babysitters, of course, because that's what you did back then.
Yeah.
And we meet Tommy, the little boy that
she's babysitting.
that Lori's babysitting. The fun, knowing some of the fun little production facts makes multiple viewings a little bit more entertaining. Like the fact that it was off season, so there wasn't any pumpkins. So they basically got a bunch of giant squashes and spray painted them orange.
That's really funny.
They like white or green originally. And
right.
Leaves were a heavy commodity.
Yeah.
Were a big commodity because they were in California.
Okay.
So they were trying to shoot around palm trees and make it seem like Illinois in the fall. Right. So basically the PAs had a bunch of trash bags full of leaves, and they would just kind of throw them onto the set in the background. So it looked like leaves were blowing about. But then as soon as the camera cut, you'd see them all go running and raking up the leaves and filling the bags and
of course.
redoing it. So yeah, we meet them, and they're talking about going to the school dance and this and that and who they're dating, and her two friends just love fucking.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But again, that goes back to what we were talking about with the virgin thing. Lori's not against it. Like, she's
No,
talking about
she just
guys.
doesn't have
She
anything.
wants Ben Tramer.
Right, but she just doesn't have it at the moment.
Which we also realize Ben Tramer gets God off screen.
Yeah, he does get God off screen.
You hear, oh, Ben Tramer was found dead. I was like, really?
They got him
They
too?
got him too, huh?
Wow.
Yeah, Michael Myers is methodical.
Yeah, he's efficient. Killing off friend groups. I don't know. Maybe the Mean Girls got to him, and they're the ones that got him out.
And another case of kids are just terrible people. Tommy's getting bullied in school.
Yeah, of
And
course.
gets tripped, and his pumpkin fucking breaks. And I'm just like, God, the fucking kids are awful.
Yeah, they're the worst.
Children are just the worst.
You're the worst.
Shitty bunch of kids.
Yeah.
And just
Let's
yelling about the boogeyman's going to get you and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like, I get it. That's what kids do, but they're just shitty people.
Yeah, they're shitty people before they're shitty adults.
Right, exactly. These are the kids that grow up to be all Doyles.
Yeah, right. They
You
are.
know?
They really are.
It's passed down.
It is.
The guy in Back to the Future wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
It comes from the upbringing. The parents are probably idiots too.
Right, right.
These kids' parents are dicks.
Yeah, they teach them to be dicks because they let them get away with being dicks because they're dicks.
So Loomis is getting to Haddonfield, and he's looking for the sheriff. He goes to the graveyard for some fucking reason.
Because for some odd reason he thinks Michael's going to dig up his sister's corpse or something.
Well, instead he took the headstone,
Yeah.
and we learned that through he's looking through he's
The
basically
graves.
going with the caretaker,
Right.
and they're looking for the plot, which is basically the only reason for this scene was exposition.
Right.
Loomis is just explaining
He's
Michael's whole story
right.
to this
He-
guy who couldn't care less.
Right. Which is weird because, again,
In 2018, he would be interrupting his Netflix binge.
yes, he would be. Yes. But it's just like, hey, man, what the hell? Why?
Why are you
There's
telling me this?
Well, there's that. But also, Mike, why are you taking the headstone, pal?
Yeah.
Like,
Also, how strong is he?
well,
That's a
again,
heavy piece of stone.
well, again, he's perceived as like he's a boy that grows into a man.
Yep.
And that's it. And it's like we don't get the Irish demon nonsense until
Until 4.
4.
Yeah.
So it's-
maybe 2. Again, there was a lot of hints of shit in 2 where I think they were trying to like add some sort of reasoning and backstory.
Yeah,
and all-
why
and all
you're
this stuff.
still alive.
But ultimately, 2 was just let's kill everybody in the hospital and show boobs.
Yeah, right. Right. Because it's just like, holy moly, man. Like,
Hot tub scene.
like we're going to get to my favorite scene in this movie when Loomis just unloads a revolver into him.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're just a dude.
Yeah.
Like, at no point, like how are you able to take 6 slugs to the chest, but then a fucking wire hanger that she unbows in your eye just takes you out of commission?
Knitting needles to the neck.
Yep.
That too. And she stabbed him.
Yeah, but even then, all of that nonsense, he's okay.
Oh, he's cool.
But it's the wire hanger to the eye that's like, oh, stop, time out, time
So
out.
rough.
Oh,
I think in 2 she shot his eyes out.
probably.
Because I remember the image. It's on one of the posters or something like that of just the mask with blood dripping out of the eye holes.
Yeah.
And then I remember seeing it in the movie when I rewatched it this week, and I'm like, yeah, she shoot his eyes out.
Yeah, probably.
What's this guy still seeing?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. It's just like
I don't care if he's even robots need to have working eyes to see where they're going.
right.
Like, how does physics work in this?
Yeah, like,
You know?
are you? What are you? What are you?
What are you, man?
What are you? I understand that Jason is a zombie juggernaut demon. I get it. I get that that's what's happening. Michael Myers is presented as a guy.
Yeah.
And then also is somehow William Shatner's demonic demon ghost.
Yep.
I just don't
I don't get it.
and Dr. Loomis, he's like he is Dr. Loomis's projection of evil. Mm-hmm. That's really what it is. He is the equivalent of some sort of weird ass smoke monster that Dr. Loomis's psyche is just taken over.
And here's the thing. And I did watch all of them, including the 2 Rob Zombie movies. They get a lot of shit.
The zombie movies?
The Rob Zombie movies.
I like them.
I do too. And I think that's just people giving them shit because it's Rob Zombie.
Yes, that is exactly what it is.
But I like the backstory he gave because
Yes.
it made a fuckload of sense. And it fleshed out stuff that you're watching it and you're like, okay, he had to have a shitty childhood.
Right.
And it didn't seem that way. They
No.
seemed like a very nice suburban couple when they came home.
Right.
But the Sherry Moon Zombie and William Forsythe couple made a lot more sense.
Right.
And he's probably fucked him or touched him at the very least a couple times.
Yeah.
There was a lot of weird sexual shit happening in that household.
Like that, it just seems like a shitty situation.
Mom was a dirty stripper, and not that I'm saying strippers are dirty, but the club she worked at is a place that has sticky floors. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, right.
You know?
It's not a high class joint.
No.
But then and then he murders that kid.
Again, that was the bullies. That one you're like, oh yeah.
No, but again,
I'd beat him with a stick too.
But again, you
meet Michael. He's carving up a rat in the bathroom.
Right, but
you realize is his pet.
Yeah, right. But the murder of the bullies shows that he has that rage in him.
And it was grisly. That was, and I know I said it last week, but the remake that Zombie did was a different type of violence.
Right.
It was such a.
It was real.
It was very visceral, and it was also. It wasn't so much what you were seeing; it was the sound design of the violence, especially in 2, when. Because to the best of my knowledge, I believe Octavia Spencer was a nurse in 2.
Yeah.
Not 1.
Yes.
But whichever one it was, whenever he stabbed her,
right,
the sound of just the thudding of the knife and the squishing of the blood, and I was like, the sound of that, I was like, man, that's something you don't get out of your head real quick.
Right.
Like that probably sounds very close to what it sounds like.
It sticks to your ribs.
Yeah,
like
literally.
Yeah, right. But that's how those movies felt. But again, everything about Michael Myers in those adaptations made him feel more like a guy and less like.
I'm not gonna say they weren't weird. The second one went off the rails a little bit with the white horse shit.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
and they were also probably 15 to 20 minutes too long.
Both of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you look at them and you're like, there is. It's grounded more in like it just gives him more.
You didn't need some supernatural thing. He was just a fucked up kid from a fucked up family that did a lot of fucked up shit and grew up into a more fucked up adult.
And then he becomes incarcerated and goes even more crazy. Yeah. So it all made sense. And it's like, I think that's ultimately what's going to happen.
And it was like because the way that the remake felt was the reason Michael became adult crazy Michael Myers was kind of a perfect storm of fucked upness. Like, okay, so he kills the boyfriend, goes upstairs, kills Judith.
Yeah.
But before he did that, he was like touching her and stuff, which led to more of the incestual, maybe there's some weird sexual shit in this family. Then he goes down and justifiably kills the fuck out of William Forsythe.
Yeah.
And he was a brilliant asshole in that movie.
Yeah, he was really good.
Cut to he's alone with the baby who he loved.
Right.
And his mom.
Right.
Well, they hospitalize him. And after a while, mom can't take that shit anymore, and she blows her brains out.
Right.
Now all that's left is the baby, but who knows where the baby goes.
Right.
Then I think that's where he really went off the fucking rails mentally because mom stopped showing up, but he was having visions of her showing up.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like...
Well, and the masks play a bigger role.
It explains a hell of a lot more.
Right.
You know, it explains he's trying to hide himself from reality.
Right. And he's shielding himself.
He considers himself ugly probably because he's been told he's ugly his entire life.
Right. And yeah, it's just
there's just more real tones to it.
Right. And you look into his cell and you see the crazy.
Oh yeah.
And it just everything about it just makes more sense. And that's kind of that's probably the thing that I like the most about the potential of this new movie is that they caught him.
Yeah.
Like this, they got him at the end of 1.
Right.
And they brought him back and
I've only seen the first trailer. I've been trying to avoid trailer and reviews and stuff, but I watched the first trailer and man, that mental institution yard looks awesome.
It looks really cool.
They
would never be able
Italian
to
tablecloth looking fucking
They
thing.
would never be able to actually do that where it's just like, hey, you guys get to just get chained to the floor.
You're chained to the floor and it's almost like a dog runner because you can see that the guy steps up to a yellow line which clearly indicates if you step past this they can get you.
Yeah, right.
Because there's only so much length on the chain so they can
there's
they
a
can
square.
walk
There's a square
in like a 4-foot square.
Yeah, and that's it. And everybody's in their squares and there's little lines.
But it looks bonkers.
It does look bonkers, and it's cool.
I can't wait for it. I'm really looking forward to I don't know what they're even calling it.
I think it's just Halloween.
The continuation, not a reboot, but a reimagining or
no, it's
rewinding. It is a sequel.
It's kind of like how Aaron Sorkin, right? Is it Sorkin that did The West Wing?
Yes.
How Sorkin was like in his masterclass, he starts being like, I left The West Wing after season 4, and so anything after that I didn't do. So we're gonna write the first part of season 4. That's how in his masterclass. And so I kind of feel like that's what this is, where it's just like, hi, I'm John Carpenter, and I'm returning to my franchise.
Right.
So I'm making 2.
I like that.
I'm making 2.
And of course, there's stuff that that some people obviously are going to take umbrage with, like the fact that the whole Jamie character is just erased.
Yeah.
Laurie Strode does have a daughter in this movie, played by Judy Greer, but her name is Karen.
Yeah.
I know Daniel Harris has come out a few times in interviews and been like, I would have done it, if they called, She was so okay, and we've talked about Shout Factory and Scream Factory's Blu-rays many times on this. They do fantastic supplemental features. They don't just polish it up and throw it out.
Right.
They actually go back and take the time to talk to people, and they talk to the actors they let them be very honest.
Yeah, of course.
And she is extremely honest about 6, because obviously she was Jamie in 4 and 5.
Right.
And then Jamie is in 6.
Oh, really?
But it's not Daniel Harris.
Okay.
And she said basically when they hired her, there was a lot of miscommunication. There was a lot of script revisions and stuff like that. And basically when it got down to it, her part got boiled down to almost like what we get Jamie Lee Curtis in Resurrection.
Oh, yeah.
It's a okay, you have a baby, so we can continue this story without you, and we're going to kill your character off.
Right.
And then they offered her scale.
Oh.
And it was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like, I carried this franchise for the last 2 fucking movies, man.
Yeah, right. What the hell?
And they literally, because her agent sent her basically the casting notice, which was a picture of her saying, we need someone to play a 17-year-old lookalike of this actress.
Right.
And she's like, well, I'm me, and I'm 18 years old. I can play me, And just the whole breakdown of that. So, and she went on to that, and she's come out a few times and actually said that if they had let her play that and had they let her have that closure to her character, there's a good chance she wouldn't have done the Rob Zombie ones.
Right.
But the reason she returned to Halloween in the zombie ones was because she needed that, I guess, personal closure of it wasn't she's playing a different character, but needed that some sort of closure. And I'm glad, because I think she did a great job in them.
Yeah. So let's just get to the end of this movie, because because I'm pretty sure we've been talking for
he starts knocking them off.
Yeah.
One by one.
Right. And so basically Loomis figures out that they're at this house, which has been to the left of them the entire time.
Let's just run him down quick. So he ambushes Annie in the backseat of a car.
Yep.
So she spilled butter or something on her clothes, so she has to strip down naked, obviously.
Of course.
As you do.
Yeah,
and wash her clothes. Then she's just in a shirt, and she's going to go drive to her boyfriend's house to fuck.
Yeah.
And he's in the backseat of the car.
Kills her.
Does a little choking, a little slashing. She's dead. Go into the house, and we have PJ Souls and Bob, her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And they're drinking beer. They're breaking each other's balls. They seem like a great couple.
Yeah, right.
They're fucking a lot.
Yeah,
they
having
seem
a
like
great
a great time. So they're breaking each other's balls about who's going to go get the beer. Well, it ends up being Bob. Bob goes to get the beer. Bob gets pinned to the wall.
Yeah, that's right. He gets pinned to the wall.
Which gives us the great, what I always call the dog head, where Michael just kind of cocks his head and I call it the dog thing.
Yeah.
You see dogs do it all the time. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So he goes upstairs in a sheet because, Michael's got a sense of humor. He puts on Bob's glasses.
Right.
Ghost sheet.
Yep.
As you do. And PJ Souls is there, and she's like, because we're breaking balls. We're having fun. Oh, yeah, cool. You want to play spooky ghost guy? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Give me my beer. And she just wanted, give me my beer. Give me my beer.
I want my beer.
Pops up, shows her tits, as you do. And she's dead.
Yeah, she's dead.
But she calls Jamie Curtis first. She calls Laurie. Or Laurie calls her. One way or the other.
Yeah.
But as they're on the phone, Michael starts strangling her with the phone cord. Jamie Lee Curtis thinks that they prank calling her to have her listen to them have sex because, cool couple.
Oh, yeah. Cool couple.
And so all the while, Tommy is seeing the boogeyman outside the window.
Yeah,
He's
the
becoming
entire time.
insanely annoying.
Oh, of course. He's the worst.
He is the worst. By the way, that's who Paul Rudd is playing in 6.
Really?
He's playing Tommy Doyle.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
weird.
Well, it's the connection because Donald Pleasence is also in it, and the whole story,
Yeah, the
and
whole
he's the
thing.
survivor of that. Yeah, that whole thing.
yeah. Checks out.
So Michael finally makes his way across the street.
Yeah, and he's gonna murder Lori.
Well, okay.
Oh no, he murders.
Check. Lori goes to look for them because she can't figure out why they're not answering the phone.
Right.
She sees all the cars, not answering the phone. Okay. So she goes and finds Annie splayed out on the bed with Judith Meyer's tombstone.
Which is so weird.
Insanely creative.
Well, for no reason.
And she's also in a whole new like gown and stuff. Like,
yeah, for no reason.
All right, as you do. And then we find Bob, who he strung up like a trapeze artist.
Right,
that
to fall.
Okay. And then she backs into a corner, opens up, I guess, a closet, and
Maybe Michael Myers is just a really big haunted house enthusiast.
Linda is kind of compacted into this little cubby hole, dead.
Yeah, everybody's dead.
And that's when we get, as you heard in the trailer, that famous Jamie Lee Curtis scream.
Yeah.
Which, God, that was wonderful. The
God
term
bless her.
Scream Queen didn't even exist, but she got it.
Yeah, she created it. Yeah, so now the chase is on.
Now the chase is on.
Now the chase is on. She ends up running upstairs trying to get away from him.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor shows up after he tries to break into the closet, and she takes a wire hanger. And just,
He being Michael Myers.
he being Michael
Pronouns,
Myers.
pal.
Yeah, sorry. And Laurie Strode just pokes him in the eye.
Yep.
And this asshole.
Well, that was after also getting the knitting needles to the neck. She got sliced in one of the weirdest things ever. That knife sucks, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, how dull is that knife that it literally only cuts the shirt and grazes the skin?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird.
Michael Myers would have been better off just choking people. He seems to do good with the chokey shit.
Yeah, he was real good choking.
The first one, he's not great with the stabby.
He needs some Garrottweiler. That's what he needs. So she pokes him in the eye, and he dies.
Ish.
He just falls over.
He falls down.
He falls down.
Like,
but
God, that sucks.
Yeah, but he dies. He's sitting there like a dead body against that wall.
We get so many false finishes basically with this because she's got the two kids in the house.
Right.
Tommy and the girl that she's also been pawned off to watch while they have sex.
Yeah, right.
So she keeps going back to the door, like, okay, open up. Is the boogeyman dead? Yeah, it's cool. And he just obviously walks,
Yeah, right, of course.
And then, so the kids take the fuck off.
But then my favorite scene is after she pokes him in the eye and she's like, I'm going to get out of here.
Yep.
She like tiptoes around him and he gets up again.
Yep.
And it's like, oh no, because of course you didn't murder this guy by poking him in the eye with a wire hanger.
Well, I'm going to say it. Even if he wasn't a supernatural horror movie guy, stabbing someone in the eye isn't going to murder them.
Right.
Generally.
I
mean, it might.
Right. I mean, you got to.
But there'd be a lot more writhing and pain.
Well, you'd have to stab him through the eye, through the back of the head for that to murder him.
I mean, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Shit happens, but generally that wouldn't kill someone.
So he goes and they end up, the doctor just starts firing.
Yeah, he shows up, they're wrestling, and
he shoots
She
him.
gets his mask off for like 2 seconds. For some reason. I guess Nick Castle needed his SAG card, so show his face.
Yeah, whatever.
And
but the doctor shoots him. The revolver clears.
Shoots him once. He backs into the room.
Yep, and he unloads the entire
and
thing.
then unloads, and he does like an alley
oh,
raisement
yeah,
backflip
that's
off
right.
the
That's
thing.
right. That's what happens. He falls over out of the banister,
Yep.
and we see him hit the ground, and then it cuts back to Loomis,
Yep.
and he pulls the trigger again, and it's empty.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Even
hey,
if
hey, asshole, I don't know if you know this, but he fell.
Yeah, even if he had a bullet, what was he going to shoot there? He was
Nothing.
gone.
He was gone. He was on the ground. And so thus is
I paid for the bullets. I'll use every goddamn bullet.
Right. So this movie ends because
on a huge cliffhanger.
Because they look down and Michael's gone. They don't know where he is. He's just straight up MIA.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, well, we'll have to go find him or something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's like, oh, that's shitty. And they got to find the dead bodies, but they end on the cliffhanger.
Yeah, they end on the cliffhanger because I have no idea.
Sequels, pal.
Sequels, I guess.
Yeah.
For a guy who wanted to go do westerns, he really left it open for another horror movie.
Yeah, well, because you gotta project career longevity. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? So that was Halloween.
That was 1978's Halloween. Now, personally, I always when asked favorite horror movie, this is where I go to.
Yeah.
Michael Myers is out of all of them, I think my favorite. This has always been a classic, always a go-to. But yes, that was 1978's Halloween. I am really looking forward this weekend to seeing the new sequel
Yes.
The new Halloween. Again, now there's, by the way, 3 movies that are titled just Halloween.
Of course.
The original, the Rob Zombie, and now this one.
Yeah, it's weird.
Just give me something else, because when you Google stuff like that, I got a little screwed up last week, because if you remember when I was leaving, I asked you, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go see the new one on Wednesday. I thought it was a special screening.
Yeah, no, it was the old one.
And I realized, like, 2 days before, I was going to buy tickets. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the original one, because I literally put in Halloween 2018 showtimes.
Right.
And that still came up.
Yeah, of course.
I'm like, whatever, fuck it. Still good.
Still good.
I still enjoyed
Still worth
myself
it.
seeing it in a theater.
Still worth it. So it looks like we're going to have a special episode this week.
Yes, I got to talk, shift gears. There will be a bonus episode posted. I'm not sure which date it will be posted on, but I got the opportunity to talk to Gabe Polsky, and it was really cool. He did a documentary called In Search of Greatness.
Cool.
It was about Wayne Gretzky, Jerry Rice, and Pele, and it was basically what makes the greatest players of their sport so great. Nature, nurture, their backstory, all that stuff. But also what was fun about it was we kind of bonded over Nicolas Cage performance in Bad Lieutenant Protocol New Orleans.
I can't wait.
So there it is.
I can't wait. And then be on the lookout, because after next week's episode, we will both have seen Halloween.
So another bonus episode.
So another bonus episode next week.
But next week's official episode is going to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Again, the original.
The original.
We don't want Jessica Biel or Alba.
I mean, granted, I'm going to watch them all.
Yes,
because
yes,
that's
you
just
are.
what I do. But yes, we will be going with the 1974 Tobe Hooper original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Bill, I'm surprised you just didn't have a chainsaw.
or
I was
just
looking
a
for a good
screaming woman.
Yeah.
I'll give you one.
There you go.
Thank you.
Not only is he producing, he's also doing sound effects.
I'm a Foley artist in
Yeah,
my
he's
spare
a
time.
Foley artist. Wow, you multi-talented Bill
Michael
Neville.
Winslow, look out.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning into That Movie Show.
Thank you for tuning into That Movie Show. Definitely follow us all on social media. Mike Wendt, Liam NAI, Bill Neville NAI, hashtag That Movie Show. And be sure to subscribe to New Age Insiders Pop wherever your favorite podcasts are found, so you can get updated as soon as these new episodes drop. And yeah, whenever you got to follow us on social media so you know when we're doing live.
Right,
Because
exactly.
we actually do these shows live.
Right, you can watch them on twitch.tv/New Age Insiders TV.
Yeah. Or on the Scope.
Or the Periscope.
The Scope.
The Scope, bro. Maybe Instagram TV. We'll see. I figured out how to use that. So.
Oh, did you?
Kind of.
Fun.
We'll figure it out.
Do they allow live on that or something?
No, but I can post it later.
Oh, new millennial shit.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
I can dig it. All right, we'll see you next week for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.